So you should all get a window there that says it's being recorded. Okay, I am going to start off by getting us to a slide deck we want to go to. And while doing this presentation today, I really want you guys to, if there's any questions you have, or if I'm not covering something and you missed something there for me, please feel free to unmute and ask questions or to ask for clarifications there. So as we go through this, I'm going to try to pace it where we can have some time to ask questions. If you're an admin, also know that, so I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm Robert Ma, and I work for the Northwest RPDP. So we have 6 districts in the Northwest that I work with, and I specialize in computer science and specifically, the secondary, elementary stuff, but really breaking down the standards. My belief is that it doesn't matter. I guess it doesn't matter, but it's important that you as a teacher have a base knowledge of the standards and what they mean before you just throw kids in and say, go do, Tinker, code.org, CodeHS, whatever. It's certainly going to benefit your kids if you have a better understanding of computer science standards. And really, that's the challenge that you guys face as educators, and I guess myself as well, is understand that even brand new teachers coming out of college, at least currently in the state of Nevada, are not required to have any computer science coursework whatsoever to be a K-8 certified teacher. And so then we run into the problem that we have elementary teachers, K-8, K-5, and all of a sudden we have standards, and most teachers don't have much content knowledge on the standards of computer science. We've used word processing, we've done spreadsheets and activities like that. They're the computer application side of things. But the challenge that you have as a teacher is when you read that you have standards, such things like algorithms and programming, most people are like, well, I don't know what that means, or I'm not sure what to do. And so we're really trying to strengthen up the teachers' understandings of computer science and those standards, so that when you read those standards and recognize, at least you'll recognize what activities you do in your class to help meet those standards and also to integrate them. I will say that in looking at the elementary standards, all but 3 of them can be integrated into math, science, social studies, to other content areas, and only a couple of them need to be taught really in isolation, that are in that network and the internet section that are a little more isolated, just specific to, you got to teach the content. So hopefully you, as you gain an understanding of the standards and what they mean, you'll look for those opportunities to integrate. So with that being said, in the chat, somebody give me a thumbs up. Did you guys get the slide deck in the Canvas for me? Is it in the session description? I don't think it is, I'm guessing. No? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the link to the slide deck in the chat here. So if you want to see the slides and then the resources for the links on there, you can go ahead and grab those and save that slide deck, and you can have access to that later, or follow along if you want. But so let's go ahead and get started in talking about the Nevada standards and seeing what we can do. All right, session 1. Okay, I've talked about that. You guys know that stuff. So whether you know or not, back in 2018, the legislature came up with SB 200 and basically has a few rules and regulations in there. But basically it says that computer science needs to be taught before 6th grade. In other words, you have to have standards K5, and actually we have them in K12 now. And so the state of Nevada went and created the standards for computer science. There's a group of people who got together, and those standards were actually pretty close to the national standards. And so they're not a whole lot different. There's a few things that we did differently for the state of Nevada, but understand, if you know the national standards, that they're very, very similar. And so really, let's talk about the standards. And here's the other thing I want to just mention, and this is kind of a rabbit hole sometimes, or I will say, could be an element of argument, I guess. In the past, some teachers and admin would think that the kids sitting there doing keyboarding was computer science. And so if you look at the new computer science standards, the ones that the state has made, I would challenge you to find where it says that keyboarding is something that you have to, spend, I guess there's no standard that really addresses keyboarding. And I don't want to get into positive negatives of that. There's a lot of arguments, pros and cons, but just understand there's a big shift in our country, because prior to 2018, we viewed computer science or computers as kids doing spreadsheets and making Word documents or creating slide decks and things like that, and then working on their typing skills. And it was never really truly computer science. And so in your mind, I want you to understand we have integrated computer science standards, which are kind of those typing, word processing, slide deck type stuff, how to use a computer. Then we also have computer science standards now, which guide you as teachers and hopefully the students in how to think and to use computer science. So let's look at this. What we did in the Northwest here, Jackie McCune, when she used to work with us, her and I worked together, we put together a poster, because we really found that teachers, when we talked about the standards, it was like this big blob of, okay, there's standards, but I don't know what is my grade level and I don't see the progression. And so we've made a chart, and I'll show you the link to this chart in a minute. So you guys can actually all copy this link if you want, and you can print out this chart for your classroom or for your school, whatever may be there. And so on the progression chart is what hopefully you understand, or maybe you don't, because once again, I'm coming from the perspective that you guys are in this session because you want help understanding how the standards are designed and what they contain. So there's 5 concepts that the computer science standards are broken down into. And first one is algorithms and programming. And honestly, that's where probably 40% of your lifting comes. So that's where it's the program development, algorithms, control statements like if, then, else, comparing things like that, variables, how you breaking your program into modules and things like that. So that's a real heavy lift there. The second concept that the standards are broken down to is computing systems. And I want you to think of this as really the hardware and the things you can touch. So it's like your monitor, your keyboard, maybe it's a printer. And so if it's a phone, then it's your tablet, or, bigger than a phone, it's a tablet. So these standards here are computing systems. So computing systems, think of those as the physical things you can touch. The next one there is data analysis. And the biggest challenge there is it's not always just about graphs and charts. That certainly is part of it, but really the other half of this concept is how is data stored in bits, bytes, and binary, and how do you save a picture? How do you send a picture? How do you send text? And how things are broken down into ones and zeros. And that's really that data analysis, storing, retrieving things, and understanding that the computers basically have that foundational of binary, how they communicate and how they save stuff. The next concept is our impacts of computing. So this is your social stuff, the culture, laws, ethics, things like that. And, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, safe use, intended use, phishing, what else? And then also having diverse perspectives and that digital citizenship type stuff. So that's that concept. And then the last one that the standards contain is the networks and the internet. So that's really how's data communicated? How is it transferred from one computer to the other? How do we organize those networks? And then how do we protect it? So then that's that cybersecurity piece. And so that's the 5 main concepts in computer science. And you'll see in the chart there in the different colors. What you'll notice the state of Nevada did, and some states are different, that depends on how they chose to do it. The state of Nevada decided to break out each of the grade levels, so kindergarten through 5th grade. And so if you're a kindergarten teacher, you can see that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 standards that you need to teach in kindergarten. And then you can also see what's required for each of those other grade levels as you go across that progression. What's important to note, like any subject matter, if you as a teacher, if you're a 2nd grade teacher and you decide that you don't have time to teach this standard, this concept to the kids, then they're not going to see it till fourth grade again. And there's some foundational stuff that they're going to miss. And so like any, you know, especially math, I was a math teacher. Some of these concepts are foundational and they build upon each other. And some of these concepts like program development, they're not going to see some of these standards all the way until like middle school. So hopefully that gives you a visual of what is required on the grade level that you're teaching. And this chart is what we did is when we we designed this chart is because we wanted to keep it within a certain amount of space. These are just a synopsis of what the standard says. And then there's a reference to the actual standard, the CSTA standards, so you can map those across because here's the other challenge. You're going to have some curriculum that is sold by a company and they might not have the Nevada standard crosswalk to it, but you do have the national standard tied in here. So you can go back to the national standard if you're looking at curriculum and they reference the national standards for what it meets. If you're a 6th grade through 8th grade teacher, is what this chart does over in the yellow. There's the half credit course in Nevada. And originally, a few years ago, when these standards were first put out and this chart was made, that half credit course required 6 through 8 and 9 through 12 standards. So if you see in this chart, anything in yellow was originally required to be in that half credit course. And so if you're that half credit teacher, you realize that not all middle school standards are there. And if you add them all up, actually, you'd have more high school standards than you have middle school standards in the half credit computer science credit requirement for graduation. And so the trend now for districts is, you know, that class actually could be taught all the way down to 6th grade, but the challenge is you have a 6th grader potentially working on high school standards. And so the shift in most districts is now they're moving that up and getting it closer to that high school student, and they'll have those high school standards. So that's what the color yellow means on this chart. And so as you can break that down, you can see the chart and you can see how it's progressed through there. Any questions about the chart? Maybe have any comments on that, or you can certainly unmute and just ask me, or we'll go on to more meat of it. Okay, so I'm assuming we're good. All right, so the question is, well, okay, Robert, cool, there's the concepts and there's the subconcepts, and I see where the standards live, but how does that help me understand what they are? And so is what we did, and I say we, there's a few of us that got together, and we broke down all of the standards all the way from kindergarten to 9th grade or 12th grade through the end of 12th grade. And we took the standard and we broke it down into the common language of, you know, what a teacher probably would understand, and hopefully gave some examples in there. So there's some real concrete help here in these standards on this document. So for example, we'll just take this one, hardware and software, kindergarten. So the standard says, use appropriate terminology in identifying and describing the function of common physical components of computing systems. So there's your standard language. And then in here in the far column, this is where hopefully we can help you understand what that means or what the intent is. This one says a computing system is composed of hardware and software. Hardware is consisting of physical components. Students should be able to identify and describe the function of external hardware, such as desktop computer, laptop computers, tablets, monitors, keyboards, mice, and printers. And so hopefully that comment section, the intent from there for teachers who are trying to understand these standards will give you some ideas on what the students are trying to do or what's expected of them. Not all of them go into that much, you know, have that students should be able to, but I think most of them do. So that is a great resource. You can go through the different grade levels to look at your standards. So if you're a 4th grade teacher, let's go to algorithms. So it says, we'll pick one that doesn't require a lot of reading on my part. Let's do this one. So program development. And so the standard is written down if you don't know this already. So 4th grade, the concept is algorithms and programming. The subconcept is PD, which is program development. And .1 is our first standard. So the standard says, test and debug, in other words, identify and fix errors, a program or an algorithm to ensure it runs as intended. So what are you supposed to understand from that? As students develop programs, they should continuously test those programs to see what they do, to see that they do what was expected and fix or debug any errors. Students should also be able to successfully debug simple errors in programs created by others. So whatever tool you're using in your classroom to do that, that's the breakdown of what the students should be able to do, and hopefully gives you some ideas there. So that's been built for you all the way up to 9 through 12. I'm not sure how many we have in our audience here, what grade levels you are, but certainly if you're that elementary, K5, even 6-8 standards are there. They're all broken down for you as well. So that's a great resource, I think, hopefully for you to look at. All right. So let's just look at the amount of standards that are in each of these concepts by grade level, just so you can get an idea of what's required of you here. So if you're a, what's this one? This must be kindergarten. This must be, first grade, kindergarten. Oh, hold on, sorry, there we go. So this is all of your K-8 standards. I said earlier that this algorithms and programming section is the heaviest lift. There's 41% of the standards are there. Computing systems, you can see that, data analysis, impacts of computing, networks, and the internet. So hopefully if you're struggling or trying to understand computer science, I would strongly suggest that, put some time and effort into algorithms and programming, and I'll show you some resources you can go to help learn that content. So you become, comfortable in the classroom teaching that. Really quickly, there's your standards. In kindergarten, you have 2, 2, 1, 2, and 1. Each of the slide decks first grade. So there's your first grade only has 3, 4, 6 standards. And like I said earlier, the secret for me in working with teachers is understanding how these integrate with other content areas. And there's a resource for you with that, and I'll show that with you in a little bit is how that is mapped out for you. I'm just looking at my chat. So I'm not being a very good presenter. I usually have a psychic. Just check my chat here. Where do we find these? Okay, so I'm going to show you, Lisa, where to find those in just a second. Yeah, actually, they are linked in the slide deck. Yes, they're also on our website. So I'll show you the website with other resources from our Northwest RPDP as well. Okay, so if you have a burning question there, I'll move my chat so it's a little closer. I can see it. Okay, if I miss you and you got a question about the slide right away, just unmute and we'll talk about it. So there's your standards for first grade, or at least there's how many. Fourth grade picks up a few more, second grade does. You have 9 standards. Third grade, you have 8 standards to deal with. Fourth grade, 8. Fifth grade's the heaviest lift because they're getting closer to that middle school level. And just going back to the middle school, understand that we abandoned those 6 through 8 because we have multiple districts throughout Nevada that have a variety of different grade levels in their building. And so we really wanted to leave that 6-8 group if you go back to that one. So sorry to digress, but just if you're a middle school teacher, whoops, I messed up. Those were banded together because we wanted to give schools the autonomy of deciding when to teach those. But the danger then is, well, if maybe we pass the buck to someone else. Oh, this should be taught in 7th grade, and the 6th grade teachers don't have to worry about it. So we wanted to put I was in the middle school band, but the elementary ones, we didn't want to put those all together because we really wanted people to have some accountability for what they had to teach. And some of those standards obviously are developmental and they progress one after the other. So 6-8 is banded, 9-12 is banded. We did that for purposes of schools trying to meet their needs for what their classes and their grade levels are. Okay, so we did that. I digressed. I apologize on that. 5th grade, 11. Okay, so 6 through 8, you have 24 standards. I know some schools have electives and other things like STEM. So these certainly can be integrated with STEM and can be matched up and be taught in a lot of those STEM classes if the teachers have some knowledge of those. Math and science are great ways to integrate those as well. And then Okay, so what needs to be taught at each grade level? I think we did this. Yep. So that's my bad. Let's go to the next one. So I want to give you and talk about some resources that are there for you. Oops, I'm jumping around. And so these resources are now some links that will help you with information I've shared, but then there's also some asynchronous learning opportunities that you can do on various websites that we've developed for you out there. So first one is, if you look at now, here's our website for the Northwest RPDP. If you go to content resources under computer science, there's oh, by the way, Carrie here is our other computer science person. So here's your resources. And so if you didn't get it in the slide or you forget it, just go to NWRPDP and there's your standards with those explanations I showed you on the spreadsheet. So that's that one. And there's some resources there. Those two, the posters that we've created for you, if you would like to have those printed out and have them in your classroom or share them with your principal or whatever the case may be. If you go there, there's your link for a PDF that is that poster. And then also we have the one for the integrated technology. And integrated technology is a little bit different. These came right from the national ones that the state adopted. And I believe there's 9 different sections. No, not 9. 1, 2, I was wrong. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 different areas: empowered learner, digital citizenship, citizen. And within each one of these, there's always an A, B, C, D. I think one of them has a couple D's. Maybe I'm wrong. I think, okay. So they're all A, B, C, Ds. So there's 4 different subconcepts to each of those. And these are your integrated technology standards. You know, for kids creating things with the computer, demonstrating proper use of equipment, digital citizenship, things like that. So that poster is there for you. Then you're like, well, hey, Robert, guess what? I really need to help. I need to understand I want more knowledge on that. And so over here, oh, let me go here first. Sorry, CS for NV. This is a great resource for you as far as getting the standards. And so once you go to the STEM Hub, CS for NV, if you go down to educators, you're going to have a variety of resources here. And so this is the elementary. There's your professional development and some resources. Those are some links in there: middle school, high school. And this is the one that I talked earlier about. So let's go here for a minute. This is a document that was created for by multiple people here. Let's go look at here. So this one here, computer science standards, full version. This is with connections to other content standards. So let's look at this one for a minute. Here's our document that has been created. So I'm just going to scroll down to a grade level. So, okay, let's just go to, okay, I'll look at this one. So in kindergarten, so here's our standard: algorithms and programming. And the sub-concept is algorithms. You have one standard: model daily processes by creating and following a set of step-by-step instructions, algorithms to complete a task. So if I'm a kindergarten teacher, this is a great one. Maybe I have the kids line up from tallest to shortest, and then I can check the line and see if the kids did it by that task. Maybe I have the kids line up by who has shoelace of certain type or Velcro shoes. I don't know, but modeling is the key one there. So following a set of step-by-step instructions to complete a task. And so maybe it's how they line up to get out of the class, go to lunch. Maybe it's how they come in your class in the morning. And just using the word algorithm and helping them understand that, say, okay, let's create an algorithm for lining up to go to lunch today or get out to recess, or what's our algorithm for when we do our, I'm just thinking, I'm not an elementary teacher, when we do our lunch order. So just whenever they're doing a set of step-by-step instructions to complete a task, using that word algorithm and tying it in will help them understand that concept, and just for that they understand it's a step-by-step set of instructions. Well, in this document, here's what's really cool, is we had a bunch of people from science, math, ELA, and social studies go through these standards and look at them. And we said, okay, where can you integrate these standards into another content area? And so the people in the science said, hey, guess what? This matches with cause and effect and patterns. They also said for obtaining and evaluating, communicating information, systems and system models. So if you're looking at your other standards in science, these ones here, these three are ones that correlate with one of these two standards up top. So you have to kind of look at which one it is. This one is the PD one. For mathematics, standards of mathematical practices, 6, 7, and 8 is where you can integrate it. And ELA, you can integrate that algorithms and programming and the PD one in. Now, I don't teach ELA, so I don't know what RI. Well, it's, you guys know what that is, hopefully, from elementary teaching. I apologize for my ignorance, but those standards can lead into collaborating and teaching that same one at the same time. Social studies, they said none. So this document here is you start to look at how can I integrate it with other content or other content and other standards. I would strongly suggest looking at this document. And in this document, what we also have for you, if I can see it, is our practices. Have I not seen any? Where's my... Okay, so there's a bunch there. I'm just trying to find where our practices are. It's right in front of me. So we have some practice connections. So here's some practice elements that they can be doing. So like math, we have practices as well in computer science. And so check those out. And unfortunately, some of these standards, hardware and software is not going to have any for science. There's something for math. There's something for ELA, and there's nothing for social studies. But this is not the end all. This was done by people with the best information they had at the time and with their knowledge. So if you can make other connections, that's awesome in that. So that's a great resource under the CS for NV. Once again, going back to that CS for NV, you have something. Let's go look here real quick. So you also have PD resources. So check that out. Whatever they have, code.org, they have a class there that you can go look at. So that's one resource for you. The one that I particularly like is going to be this one. So is what the state of Nevada did is we realized that there are many districts that don't have immediate resources in their area, like the Carlins or like in Ely. And so even, sometimes in Elko or Nye County, there's a lot of smaller schools, and teachers don't always have an opportunity to have somebody do the training for them, and they can't go to those sessions and get the PD they need. And so a module was created, an online module, learning module, that helps teachers understand these concepts. And so this module, I'll show you where it's located in just a second, where you can go find that. Of course, you have the link though. So if you're a let's go with 3.5. You're a 3.5 teacher and you want to learn more about the standards. And so these modules are all set up the same way. Is what in algorithms and programming, it goes through the different subconcepts. And so if I want to learn about algorithms, we have a module here, and it's all set up exactly same way in every one. We tried to make it the same. So you have 5 pages. Here it is, algorithms and programming. You're going to learn about algorithms. These are just some questions for you to think about. And so then is what we do here. What real world problem does this standard address? Something for you to think about. But then here's some content, video. It's usually PDFs or a website, but here's content that helps you understand that concept of algorithms and programming. It asks you a few questions. What's happening? What's the root cause? What are questions? And then you have to put a response. And so and here's some common understanding, some things you can learn more about what it's talking about. Some more examples. And so those of you in Vegas, I believe if you check with the Southern RPDP with Jason, and there is a course, if you go through these, you can actually get learning credits or your professional development stuff there that you can do. We also have in the state of Nevada, we have the endorsement courses where we offer the 3 endorsement classes, and they use this resource quite a bit. So just that's a great resource to help you understand each of those subconcepts and the standards that are embedded in it based on your grade level. So I strongly encourage you, if you have time, if you're from Vegas, I would do it, and then you get extra credit, or not extra credit, you get your PD hours and stuff like that. CS Unplugged, elementary teachers, even middle school, high school. We heard in the video today, the students saying relate it to something that's concrete and give them examples. And here's a great resource for CS Unplugged. So you don't have to have any computing stuff. There's various topics that you can go through and you can pick. So if I'm going to talk to my kids about binary, there's 6 different lessons here on binary that I can look at. It goes through and tells you all your lesson plans, tells you what you need, gives you the videos, and it's a great resource. It also shows you other curriculum areas that it ties into. So whose cake is it? That could be a literacy and writing one. You could tie it in. You could tie it into art, performing arts, music, etc. So this is a great website for you to teach these concepts of computer science without a computer, and helping these kids, correlate this learning to something in their physical environment and tie it to something they actively get to do before you just throw them on a computer in the corner and saying, go do code.org or codehs or Tinker or whatever the case may be. So this is a great resource for you to go look at and to pick out your topics that you'll be teaching. It doesn't have everything, doesn't cover every single concept or sub-concept, but it does have quite a few lessons, and it's a great resource for you to look at as far as unplugged activities. You also have computer science. I think that's one. Let's see, do the right one. There's a book. So this is a PDF book of Computer Science Unplugged, a bunch of offline activities and games. And I believe they have, was it 24 or 16 different lessons that you can, 20. So there's 20 different lessons in here that are put together in this book for unplugged activities. So I would encourage you to go through and look at that and see what standards they might tie to in your grade level, and get the kids engaged in these unplugged activities where it doesn't require any computer. Nice thing is there, you're not have to manage a computer, I guess, and all the stuff that goes with managing a device in your classroom. But certainly I would strongly encourage you to tie in unplugged activities prior to doing the plugged ones as a learning tool for the kids. Scratch. Many of you probably, I'm assuming, or maybe I'm assuming wrong, but if you don't know Scratch is a great tool that for block coding. And so when we say block coding, we're talking about where kids, I'll just open one here, where kids drag and drop blocks that do different things. I believe the young man, is it Mason or Tyson? I can't remember his name in the video. The young man who was doing his game, they were using Scratch. And so he was using Scratch as a second grader. And what you do in Scratch is you drag pieces over, and it's called block coding. And you try to create your program based on dragging and dropping these blocks and having your characters or your program do various things. Great visual, good tool for kids. Strongly look at you doing that in elementary. That's a good one. Tinker is another good resource. There's a free version and a paid version. So depends on your school and your situation, but you can join for free, and there's some unlimited lessons there where you can go through and actually, do a fair bit. That's highly interactive, great drag and drop, block coding, and it also goes to syntax. I believe Python or Tinker even does Python now through syntax coding. So if you purchase that, so it goes all the way up to high school with Tinker. Great resource. Code.org, you all know that from the state of Nevada, probably. I know that this in the state of Nevada, that Southern RPDP offers a 1-day course for code.org, and they also do a 5-day for the high school teachers. My strong suggestion on code.org is once you take the 1-day session, there has to be more to it. You need to, as a teacher, understand the standards first, I believe, before you just kick the kids loose in the corner and say do code.org or do their unplugged activities or plugged activities. Once again, these are just all resources that you can look at. But as I said earlier, you guys are coming out of college, or maybe your experiences in college that you didn't have a computer science course. And I would hate to see it. Maybe it's just out of desperation, I don't know. But it's unfortunate if you just throw the kids on a software or a curriculum without you truly understanding those standards. Because as those kids struggle, or as you want to teach them in the whole group setting or smaller settings, if you don't have the content knowledge, it really is a disservice to the kids, just throwing them through, in my opinion, a program that you just hope teaches them what you want them to teach them. So that's my soapbox there. Hour of Code is awesome. Check this out. This is amazing. I looked at this today. So 1.6 billion different activities on code.org. So this is a website where the kids can go on. It's for an hour of code. So I said code.org. Hour of Code. And this map's kind of cool because it's a visual representation of different schools or kids around the world who've actually been using the Hour of Code. And there's a day in the spring coming up here where it's actually an hour of code is kind of that day in school. And so to promote that. So that's kind of cool. I haven't zoomed in to see Nevada yet, but this is a great resource. I believe this one's a free one. In fact, I'm pretty sure I know it is. So go through that yourself. Kids like doing dance things, Dance Revolution, programming characters in Sprite to do things. You can watch the video on your own time on that, but this is a great resource there. And now it comes down to, well, Robert, there's some good resources. What am I allowed to use? What am I not allowed to use? And so the state of Nevada actually has approved curriculum. And so stuff that's approved for you to your districts to purchase and use because it meets the standards. And that's what it really comes down to, is does it meet the standards? And so you have two lists on this page, and it's updated. This was September of 2022. So it's not too long ago. But if your school is, you go to your principal and you say, hey, I would like to get Codelicious. And the question is, does it meet the standards? This one has been approved for the Computer Science Foundation number 4. That's approved and it meets all the standards in the 4th grade band, according to the state of Nevada. So that's an approved curriculum on Codelicious. CodeHS, Code.org Discoveries is a core curriculum, CS Principles for Code.org. And then, you can go through this list and look at this on the slide deck. SkillStruct is awesome. I really like that one. So check those out if that's something you want to encourage, or you need to get as a resource for your building or for you as a teacher. And then these following ones down the bottom they don't meet all the standards. They are, what do we call these? They're good secondary or supports resources, and they haven't been approved or have shown evidence that they meet the standards. And the biggest one we run into in the state of Nevada is if you are using code.org course A, B, C, D, F, my advice or information to you is look at that coursework, and you got to figure out as a teacher, what is it missing and what do you need to supplement into that curriculum instead of just relying on it, because that is not approved. So if you're a 5th grade teacher and you're using code.org course F, that's not approved, you have to supplement it with other things. And so just know that there's some other great resources out there, CodeHS, CodeMonkey. But you as a teacher, once you understand the standards and you know what's required of you, hopefully you'll be able to supplement. Question to answer at the end. Okay. Oh, good. So Roger, I'll get onto that one, talk about that. Appreciate that. Okay, so that's important for you to realize as a teacher. Not all curriculum is created equal. And the world I live in is I don't promote or push one curriculum over the other. I certainly can tell you I like others, but my work really evolves around those standards and helping teachers understand what the standards are, how to break them down, and how to integrate them into their classroom. And so that's a resource for you to look at if you're talking to your admin or you want to get something to help you get the kids through those requirements of the state standards. What? Okay, so I think that was my last slide. So the other thing, let me get back here. Okay, I've been doing a lot of talking. I will add one more piece here. The question was, somebody says, well, how do you register for the endorsement courses? So let me break this down. So in the state of Nevada, you can be endorsed. You can have an endorsement on your license to teach computer science. There's we'll call it the basic endorsement, and then there's an advanced one. And so there are 3 courses that you need to get your endorsement for computer science. If you're looking at getting an endorsement or moving over on the pay scale or whatever. And the first class is computer science principles. So you basically go through that one I showed you with the different modules, and you gain understanding of what the computer science principles are. So you as a person learn what all those principles mean, and you just learn more about computers, binary. You learn about algorithms and programming. You learn how it applies to your classroom, your kids. And then you have 2 methods courses. So there's 3 classes you need if you want your basic computer science endorsement. And then if you want to be teaching at the high school, so you need those basic 3, and then you need 2 language classes. So you need, and it doesn't matter, it can be 2 Pythons, 2 Javas, 2 Cs, whatever. And so, or it can be 2 different classes. And so you need those 2 classes that are approved language classes. And if you have a question about if you're taking a course that is approved or not, I would strongly suggest that you email Jackie McCune, who was the head of the meeting this morning, our conference, and she'll let you know if it's an approved college course that is on their list or their radar that meets that requirement, so you don't take something you don't need to. So what the state of Nevada has done is all 3 RPDPs, Northwest, Northeast, and then the Southern one, we've collaborated this year, and we are offering those 3 basic classes for your computer science endorsement. And so that cohort is just finishing up their 3rd class. So we've got, I think it's like 40 or 50 people that went through those endorsement classes, and they're done now. Then we started in the fall. I would, in Vegas, I know that Jason heads up that he'll be sending out probably this spring. We haven't got the dates yet, but he'll be putting that out as for this next cohort for this coming up fall. And then out in Eastern Nevada for the out Elko, that area, Connie will be sending that information out, and we'll give you guys a little bit of a head start on getting registered for that. And then the same thing for the Northwest, Reno, Carson City, all that area there. So if you're from that region, look for an email from Carrie Hare, myself, check our RPDP site out, and those courses filled up within an hour. So once we launch it and release it, those seats are gone really fast. So we will get that stuff out to the districts, to the RPDPs. If you want a heads up, I'd say why DPN? I'm not sure what DPN is, Susan. If you can elaborate on that. So check for the RPDPs. We're the ones that are in charge of that courses that are coming out, and it's really fast. It's a lot of information at once. Just understand those are 3 credit college courses, and we got those 35, 40 people through that in about 4.5, 5 months, I think was the time window we really jammed it up. And so there's a lot of work involved if you sign up for it. There's a lot of content there, and it's just not it's not easy. So if you have a busy life, it's a challenge. I'll just put it that way. But if you can get it done, that's awesome. So we're there to support you on that. Why don't we offer it a 2-year instead of 1 year? The answer is because when we put the interest form out for the state of Nevada, we had over 450 people who are interested in that endorsement. And so with the limited resources that we had, we were trying to, and our intent is trying to get it done as quick as we can, so we can try to get as many of those people done now and hopefully into the future. So I apologize. It's not a 2-year and slowed down one, but if you do want a slower one, those classes are offered through local colleges and universities, so you have to check those out. The question is, how much is it? I think they raised it to $36 a credit. So it's about $90, $100 for each of those classes. There is a grant through the state of Nevada that DOE, Department of Education, does offer, where they will reimburse you for your class tuition, and they'll also reimburse you for getting that endorsement on your license. And so I would direct you to Jackie McCune for that. So the real answer is, if you fill your paperwork out and you get those courses done, it potentially is free, which is pretty cool. But what's Jason's last name? I will put his email right here in the chat so you can hound him. Let me look real quick unless somebody has it. Give me 1 second. And Danielle, Jason and Danielle both are the computer science folks in Southern Nevada, and they run the registration for that. Okay, so here's Jason's emails in the chat. It's coming right now. So I would reach out to him and say, hey, please, let me know when this next cohort's coming up for the computer science endorsement, or how that's coming out. Just give me a heads up, and he'll probably send you a message and tell you when that's going to appear. And I'm not sure how they do it up here in Northern Nevada. We'll get that out in probably going to be May, I'm guessing, potentially April. So keep an eye out in your emails from whoever your district is that sends out those learning opportunities in your district, and it'll be coming from the RPDPs. So there's 3 regions in Nevada that they're the RPDPs. All right. So, I see. Suzanne Schmidt, why is it not done twice a year? Good question. We are meeting. I say we, the 3 RPDPs are meeting this next couple weeks. And that's one of the discussions we're going to have is, can we do a cohort 1 and a cohort 2 and just offset them a little bit and try to get more people through it. So I hear you. We know there's a huge need for it. We had, like I said, over 400 people say we want it, and we could only fit, with the workload of grading papers and just running the class with management, we kept it to like 42, 43, 44 people. And unfortunately, we had a few drop out because they realized the workload was more than they had bargained for. So just know that when you sign up for it, it's a bit of a heavy lift, but we get you through as fast as we can. All right. So Veronica, I would say just check whoever is in your district is in charge of sending out learning opportunities. That's where it's going to come from. You can also check our websites, but it's really going to come from your district, because we give it to your district leaders, and then our intent is that they hopefully get that out to you. And for those of you out in the rural counties of Nevada, we do give you a little bit of a head start on signing up, because we know that it happens really fast in Vegas. So that's just the way it is. Okay, you have 2 minutes. I've talked a lot. Any last questions for me? While I'm waiting to look for that in the chat, I will put on the session evaluation link. So let me get that so you can, between your next sessions, if you want to evaluate that, that's great. Either way, so there's your link for the session evaluation. Appreciate the feedback. You're welcome, Becky. I appreciate you guys being here. And my real intent is hopefully you guys you saw the standards and you found some resources to help you break it down. If you're an admin, what we do offer here at the Northwest RPDP is we do a 3-hour training with your staff and or districts, and helping them actually break those standards down. And we talk about the integration, and we get in a lot more detail on that. So if you're interested in having support that way, reach out to myself or Carrie if you're in the Northwest, and we can help you that way. And Lisa Admonson, I love your shirt. Alaska, yes. Go Alaska. Okay. I'll watch the chat for just a second, but we have 1 minute left, and then we'll wrap this session up. And good luck the rest of the day. Hope you guys enjoy it and stay warm and get some exercise shoveling that snow this afternoon if you're in Northern Nevada. We get dumped on. Oh, very good, Lisa. I go there every summer. I love it.
It's beautiful there. Really
Yeah.
like it.
Where does she live? What part?
Anchorage.
Okay, very good.
I was just up there for Christmas.
Oh, good
Just-
for you. Good for you. They had a warm Christmas. At least they did down in Seward. I was out there for a little bit.
Yeah, it was pretty warm up there.
Good deal.
Thanks for everything.
You're welcome. Okay, guys, our time is up. I'll stop the recording and good luck with the rest of your sessions today. And reach out to me if I can be of any help. rma@nwrpdp.com.